it is or not, that's what you're going to do. Write me the damn letter.
Not only was she disrespecting my son's knowledge of his own self, but she's also disrespecting me. PD.
Oh, imagine that. You got a 9-year-old telling the doctor what's going on, and now the 9-year-old's getting disrespected because the doctor said, let's make sure we flush this out a little bit before we do the hormone blockers and lop off the flupus. So let's put a little time in this. No. You misgendered my kid.
Nutrition number 2.
If you made it this far, please make sure to watch the next video on this screen, and I'll see you there. That's what I'm talking about, baby. Not quite Buffalo Bill, but the man had some moves. Just a little teaser to get going before we get into the Karens. Let's go.
I'm queer and I am ready to make every straight person in my general vicinity slightly uncomfortable. To all the white.
Why is she Karen? Because all she wants to do is make your life uncomfortable, make things difficult for you. You don't have a good time because she's unhappy, right? That's kind of the definition of Karen. Could be a young person, could be an old person, could be a trans woman, right? I guess. Point being, they want you to be miserable, and they're going to let you know and make you miserable by any means necessary.
People that recently started following me, I hope you look through my account before you push the follow button. On this platform, the girls, gays, and nays have the voice.
Great.
If you are a white person.
Girls, gays, and nays. Huh. Alright, you got 2 girls. I'm down with girls having power, having the voice, right? She looks like she's a fun girl. Looks very unhappy with herself. The hearts, though. Like, she doesn't seem like she's a very hearty person, very happy person.
And you're a racist, closeted racist, think that blue lives is a thing, or say things like all lives matter, you can disrespectfully.
Well, I think that all lives matter. I think that black lives matter. I get the point of the movement. But I don't know what her beef is with police officers. There's plenty of minorities that are police officers, law enforcement. Question becomes, do they count their minority in the police officer Blue Lives Matter thing, or is that taken off the table because like a strike? It's like a 1 times a -1's a -1, right? Or -1 times -1's a 1. That logic work here?
If you are a white person that thinks that it's okay to culturally appropriate, you can also. If you are a white person that thinks that white privilege does not exist, you can.
You know, the cultural appropriation, very interesting. What do we do about tattoos? Do we get that from the Fijians? What about long hair? Is that Caucasian cultural appropriation? Because generally, if you're 100% African, you typically don't have dreadlocks. Like, I haven't seen any dreadlocks on Africans 100%. Usually, they've got a little bit of a mix in them, which causes the long hair. Don't know the science there. Could be wrong. If I am, correct me. But I haven't seen, like, Nigerian, Ethiopian, Somalians with dreads. It's not a thing.
So, disrespectfully. If statements like,
Malcolm's.
I don't like white people and God is black woman offend you, you can off.
So I guess she makes the statement, I don't like white people and God's a black woman. That offends you, you should go F off. Wow, she's out there, this one. I don't know how she came up my TikTok stream, doing all this hardcore research, right? Digging down. It's like investigative journalism, if I can get out of my mouth. I'm like Geraldo Rivera back in the late 80s. I'm getting down in the weeds, getting into the culture, trying to understand what's going on here.
If you are a Trumper and or conservative, you can definitely fuck.
Wow.
If you are a Christian that thinks you're going to come on my page and shove your beliefs down my throat, you can disrespectfully.
That's all of America.
She doesn't like a lot of people, so if you're conservative, let's say you're conservative, say you're like Mother Teresa type, right? Love everybody, want to help, but your conservative beliefs are maybe you believe in the Bible. I guess that'd be conservative to her. If you're not her, you're conservative is what I'm getting here. You're conservative. Should you F off? You just want to help, like, here, I want to give you money to your organization. I'm a conservative, but I want to give you money because I care about people.
No, fuck off.
Does that make you have to F off? This is a miserable Karen right here.
On this page, I do not tolerate racism, sexism, or bigotry. You will be put on blast and then deleted and blocked.
Well, we can all agree with we don't tolerate racism, sexism,
That's
or bigotry.
what she's being.
But what that is changed, right? What used to be racism or sexism or bigotry is now different. So if I say, Men are better at tennis and competition. So a male tennis player at 100 would beat Serena Williams at 1. That would be sexist. Albeit Serena said, I think she lost to the 200th men's player because men and women's sports are different. Is that sexist? I think it is now. Am I racist if I make you make a generalization, not a racist one, but you just make a generalization, like more NFL players are black. It's a factual thing. But I think that's racist. Follow me here. I'm trying to understand, getting down to the weeds.
If you don't fit into any of those categories, welcome, but tread carefully because I will find out if you do.
So she culturally appropriated a tattoo. I think that's a Fijian thing. So she's definitely appropriated something in her life. She has a kid, so can you imagine the kid's indoctrination? He's hearing that, hear that baby. Hearing that as a youngster, just hearing all this negativity. Why she hates all these groups. It used to be liberals were, they loved everybody, like hippies, right? Love, all we need is love. So if we disagree, well, I love you. We can still be friends. Now you can just F off. Like, I'm going to come dox you, find you out. And TikTok now is famous for that, like doxing people, finding out who somebody is in comments, and they go down the rabbit hole and bring up their Facebook where they work. I could care less. Bring it up, bro. I mean, I'm not hiding for myself, but I'm in a different spot in life. I'm not 25. This has got to the point of ridiculous.
Hi, this is for the guy in the car next to me in the Whole Foods parking lot. You're welcome for the full-blown mukbang. That was some pro bono work that I did. Ideally, I would charge for that.
Like Southern Baptist.
All right, so I didn't know what mukbang is. Probably saying it wrong. Watching somebody eat. Maybe she was joking, but she's stuffing her face in the parking lot with food, and the guy's watching. I guess that's a kink, right? I just can't see how there's people who are truly like that. Like, they feel like they're doing you a favor while you get a chance to watch their kinky weird shit.
Baptist in a rural community, it was probably so hard for you to come out, right? Sure was. So what was it like? Like, what happened to you? I want to talk about that right now.
Well, why is this person a Karen? I think it's the voice, the mannerisms, like the hand gestures, like the very specific hand gestures. I think that's a Karen sign, like a tell. If you're going somewhere, you're looking off at 100 yards with the binoculars, you go, that's a Karen. How do you know? There's some tells in the behavior, the mannerisms, right?
About something else, I guess, but I don't know why you want to talk about your experience. I mean, my family was super supportive. I don't need to relive some of the worst parts of my life, just educate you. Please respect my boundaries.
I get called radical a lot in a lot of my white social circles, and I'm going to tell you why.
Well, TV Champ's one of my favorite. If you're into this kind of stuff, go follow her. She's committed to her beliefs, and I can respect that. But why is she radical in her social circles? Normally, I'll give her that credit. These type of folks don't like to socialize with anybody but like-minded people. Let's hear it.
Because I want to listen to people of color and then want to follow what they want to do. And I want to actively change these systems that are harming us all, but them disproportionately.
So you can't argue that point. If somebody's getting harmed disproportionately, you want to change the system. You go, well, that seems fair. That's where they get you. So you agree with that. But what the change is the tricky part, and what harm is. That's the real weed you can get into here. What the change should be and what's being harmed, right?
I'm gonna bring in now Raymond.
I also want to commend all responding officers at Ludfield. Now, before we show you the surveillance and body cam video from yesterday, I need to address Officer Crone and his actions. As a police department, we do what we can to prepare as we can for all scenarios that are possible in calls.
Spray and pray, you mean? We gotta spray and pray around here.
Joining us now, Senator Ron Johnson. Senator, it's so good to have you on. We're perplexed and looking through Joining us now, Senator Ron Johnson. Senator, it's so good to have you on. We're perplexed and looking through everything that's going on. Let's just recap it for the viewers, Senator. The DOJ whistleblower, Senator Grassley said, told him FBI headquarters in D.C. in August 2020 buried and blocked verified and verifiable evidence about Hunter Biden's alleged crimes as disinformation before the election.
Point.
But that same month, why did the
They
FBI
covered it up.
debrief you and Senator Grassley about this disinformation? Did you ask for that? Who ordered that? Who leaked it to the Washington Post later on?
So we absolutely did not ask for that briefing. I knew it was a setup at the time because it wouldn't tell us the intelligence behind what they were telling us that we already knew. Later, they leaked that fact that I was briefed in March of 2021 to smear me. So, from my standpoint, we were briefed that there's all this Russian disinformation. I actually held a hearing in Senate Foreign Relations Subcommittee on Europe in 2015 about Russian disinformation. I'm well aware of it. I didn't need the briefing, but I think that was really meant to smear and marginalize our report, which we issued in September. So I think that, first of all, let me thank the whistleblowers for coming forward. I see some other whistleblowers came forward to a news outlet saying that the Department of Justice, the Attorney General, the U.S. Attorney in Delaware, that office doesn't have anywhere near the resources and capability to do the Hunter Biden investigation. So fortunately, people are now coming out and telling their stories, because I think they're probably pretty concerned about the lack of integrity, the lost integrity, credibility of the FBI and the Department of Justice. So that's a good thing.
So you're saying the Delaware, U.S. attorney is not up to this job of probing Hunter Biden's alleged tax evasion, money laundering, and foreign lobbying violations?
That's what some whistleblowers to a news outlet is certainly saying. Now remember, the FBI had Hunter Biden's computer in December of 2019. We get briefed in August. We issue our report in September. The next day, Mr. McIsaac offered us his computer. But because we did our due diligence, we went to the FBI, and this could have been stolen property. It might have been Russian disinformation. It seemed like kind of an odd story. The FBI should have told us that they already had it. They didn't. They covered that up from us. And then, Mr. McIsaac got impatient and released it to the New York Post.
But
so again, there's. Go ahead.
These are the same guys that the FBI were on the Trump Russia probe, and now they're doing this. I mean, they're meeting with allegedly Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer and Adam Schiff, and then saying, well, this Hunter Biden stuff is Russian disinformation. Then all of that leaks, and it sabotages your probe into Hunter Biden. I mean, he was connected to, you say, Eastern sex trafficking rings, Eastern Europe, and more, right? I mean, there's national security issues here. So, but they're stonewalling and doing their own disinformation on it.
No, because of all this talk of Russian disinformation, we had senior Democrats create an intelligence product, had it classified, leaked that to the media that accused Senator Grassley and I of soliciting and disseminating Russian disinformation. So then we had a couple hundred news stories, again, marginalizing our report. There is nothing in our report that has ever been proven inaccurate. The vast majority of our report is based on U.S. records and interviews with U.S. government officials. And so this was an effort that it apparently began in August of 2020 when we got that briefing, and continued at least until March of 2021 when that briefing was leaked to the Washington Post in an article that's used to smear me.
But this is it's like the FBI was weaponized against a sitting member of the Senate. And now you have James Comer, the congressman, is saying Biden's Treasury Department is blocking details about 150 financial transactions, suspicious activity reports involving the Biden's global business deals overseas, red flagged by U.S. banks to the U.S. Treasury, and now he's going directly to Hunter Biden's financial advisors to get details about that because Biden's Treasury Department is stonewalling.
And no, Elizabeth, this could be the greatest scandal, the greatest episode of corruption, executive branch against Congress in U.S. history. I mean, you've got the FBI, the federal law enforcement agency, obstructing congressional oversight, congressional investigations, smearing us. Can it get much worse than that?
So we'll be staying on the story. It's just astounding that this feels like tip of the iceberg stuff, Senator. Final word.
Well, I think it may be. And again, I don't have all the answers on this. I just have a lot of smoke. We need to find out where the fire is. But I've been suspicious of this, obviously, for years because we've been lied about. We've been falsely accused. The media's picked up on it. And let's face it, we also had the 51 intelligence operatives, officials from the U.S., claim that the the Hunter Biden computer had all the earmarks of a Russian information campaign, which also marginalized that.
Yeah, now the silence is deafening from them. It's like crickets. Okay, Senator Johnson, it's good to have you on. Come back soon.
So most of the questions we received were about your investments, how to navigate the market, which of course has already caused much damage to financial goals and many people's dreams. I'm lucky enough, though, to have two of the best investment strategists to help us kick off the show. Joining me now, Advisor Group Chief Market Strategist Phil Blancato and Lafler Tengler, CEO and CIO Nancy Tengler. And I want to just jump straight into the questions. I think the first question is from Suzanne Howard.
Yes. My question is, if you can tell us if you think we've hit the bottom of the market yet.
All right, tell you what. I'll start with you, Phil, and then you, Nancy.
Okay.
Yes, okay. You're wishful thinking.
Yeah, sure, but no, we're on our way up. You know, traditionally, markets need to really wash out completely for us to see a liftoff. This time it's a little different. The key thing that has to change is inflation. In order for that inflation, the key thing that has to stop is the Federal Reserve raising rates. In order for them to stop, we need oil prices to come back down below $80 a barrel. Until you see oil correct and come back down, the Fed won't put on the brakes, and for that reason, we're not quite there yet. However, I don't think we're far away. I think we're at the mid-September, early October, it's a chance for the market really to lift off. I actually think the Fed's going to pause in that September, October time period or lower their forecast, and that's where your opportunity to go much higher in the market, assuming oil comes back down below $80 a barrel.
Nancy?
I think you're right. I don't think, however, that oil is going to come back down below $80 a barrel. But I do think now's a great time to be adding risk back into your portfolio. And we've seen the NASDAQ come back. I don't think it's over yet. But these do take time. These corrections take time, as Phil described. But we are in a midterm election year. And as independent and non-political as the Fed is, they're very political. And so I think you'll see a pause, and I think that will be a chance to add more. But I'd be adding now.
Yeah, some think that the Fed cost Bush Sr. His job. At least that's what one of the entities that he blamed it on. I want to go to David next because he sent us in this question, quote, are we now rotating away from consumer discretionary because of inflation fears? This is a very timely question because the market got hit a little bit today. It's actually shown some resolve. Many might know Walmart warned for the second time. And essentially it's an interesting warning. It's not that people don't have money to spend. It's just that the things, the essentials that they need cost so much that they can't buy anything else. So maybe that's why we're not free falling. Nancy, are you surprised? Honestly, when I saw the news initially, I wouldn't have been surprised to see the markets down 1.5%, 2%. They're actually showing a lot of resolve today.
Yeah, I think that's because we've seen a lot of warnings, and for the reason you described, we've been adding back to consumer discretionary names in the past 6 weeks. So I think this is a fair time. You're never going to hit the bottom. Being an investor is like being in a perpetual state of dissatisfaction. You buy it and it goes down, you bought too much, and you buy it and it goes up, you didn't buy enough. So you just want to be disciplined and dollar cost average your way in. I think there's a lot of consumer discretionary stocks that are going to look really good coming out the other side.
Yeah, I was checking out Lulu before I came down.
We just bought it.
It's really looks like a screaming buy to me. Although I will warn, if a company says we ain't going to make money for a long time, I wouldn't necessarily rush in to buy the stock. All right, let's go to Sandra with an email question. Should people that are already retired move their IRAs into cash until this roller coaster ride is over? How can the people that are still working, protecting their 401ks, can they move some of their money into cash and then continue to contribute along the way with their employers contributing? This is sort of a complicated question, but Phil, do you think people should get that cute with their retirement account?
They should not. First off, your best vehicle you can save in is your 401k. When your company's supplementing your income by giving you that match, you always take advantage of it. Second off, it doesn't matter a degree to how long you have to retirement. If your retirement time frame is you 1 or 2 years, you can get more conservative in your investments. But assuming you're still working and have a lengthier period of time, more so than 5 years, and stocks are the best ingredient in a portfolio when you're in an inflationary period. When things inflate, generally the stock market does too, and finally stocks are cheaper. To your point, prices are now really better than they've been in quite a while. So for that reason, you should be a buyer of stock in your 401k. Cash is never a winning investment. It doesn't work. Think of it this way, Charles. Bear markets last around 11 months. Bull markets last on average of 4 years. Average return after a bear market is 24%. Right. If we're at the end of a bear market, then it's your chance to buy stuff.
And folks, put yourself out there. If you can go in the future 10, 20 years out and then look backwards, do you think you'll be saying, gosh, I wish I bought, I wish I held? The answer probably is 99.9% yes, you wish you bought and held. All right, I want to go to Elvira in the audience with a question.
Sorry, guys. I'm sorry, I had to take the puppies out. Here's some hard-hitting, serious news. Nothing but lies. Here you go, trannies against groomers.
It's a real life NPC. I believe you paid this much for a gallon of gas.
Never.
Yeah, another guy said.
So according to Reddit, the term groomer is now a gay slur.
I don't think of any training specifically that have ever really been like preparing me for this. So
pedophiles are protected
activity. You would say something like is if you're never within 6 feet of any single individual, then you've controlled the virus.
We have tried to ask people to make their own decisions about masking and go ahead and mask so that we can slow down transmission.
No, thank you.
That hasn't been very successful.
No.
We've really worked on messaging to the American people about these 15 days to stop the spread.
Yeah,
I know it's a
15 days.
lot to ask because you've done it for 15 days. It's what we've been talking about in the 15 and 30 days to prevent the spread.
Now, come on, when you all heard 15 days to slow the spread, stay home from work, it was a big party. Like, this is spring break and I'm 45 years old. I'm going to love this. And then it ended up to be 2 years.
These 15 days to stop.
So when I think about what he said was, he didn't say 2 weeks to flatten the curve. He said America's too weak to flatten the curve.
To put it in law, there may be litigation, but we will be in a much better position than to not do that. And, you know, listen, women are getting pregnant every day in America. And this is a real issue, and we need to act with a sense of haste about what is at play, what is at stake. And, you know, listen, women are getting pregnant every day in America. And this is a real issue.
Yes, Satan?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Let's hear this again. Population control is out in your face.
To put it in law, there may be litigation, but we will be in a much better position than to not do that. And, you know, listen, women are getting pregnant every day in America. And this is a real issue, and we need to act with a sense of haste about what is at play, what is at stake. And, you know, listen.
Oh, you want to kill babies? Stop population control, but you got an open border policy. Let's get it right. You want to kill white babies. I hate this. We are all God's children. They push us into our own little groups.
Hello, I'm Allie Menz, and this is part
where
one of
the group's needs outweighs the individuals.
the history of bi lesbian.
TikTok keeps citing my videos about this, but...
So what's the difference between arrow ace, oriented arrow ace, and angled arrow ace?
Another new batch of pronouns to confuse you. Welcome to the fever dream that is idiocracy.
And we're stuck with the dumbest people in history.
There was a lot of turmoil going on, much like there is today.
I'm an emo boy. I'm not trying to make it. Emo boy.
All right, we've talked about the things you should do. Now let's talk about the things you should not do if you want to be an ally to your fat friends.
If you are part of the LGBTQIA community, you need to share this. And if you're an ally, step up.
So what if you're not an ally or part of it? You just want to watch it for entertainment. Does that make you a bad person?
Body shaming of any sort is not okay. I am a thicker man, and that is okay. All you gay boys out there who shame other men for how they look, yeah. And let's not forget, not dating someone because of their skin color isn't preference, it's racism.
You know what's funny about, well, we'll call it this individual just said, I remember years ago in the African American community, folks that were lighter skin were sought after. So hear me out. If you're really dark, but you like, that's just what you're into, lighter skinned African Americans, does that make you racist?
Let's not forget ableism, biphobia, transphobia, and ageism. This LGBTQI community needs a serious check, especially
Y'all need a
man.
freaking
I love it
dictionary.
when the libs cannibalize each other.
Hey!
So the movements have already personalized, isolated the rest of us. Now they're going
Hey!
after one another because you can't be woke enough. It's impossible.
Just because someone is non-binary, non-conforming, and gender fluid doesn't mean they're trying to change their gender or anything. They're just not going to fit into society's norm of what a man looked like and what a woman looks like. Because it's all actually made up from some Christian Bible that was made by a white man to suppress a bunch of slaves.
Interesting concept we have here. So if I go to China, or I go to a Middle Eastern country that's primarily Muslim, they tend to have the same norms, probably even a little more strict. So this wackadoodle is going to blame it on the Christian Bible. However, historically, people kind of go towards the average, right? The outliers happen, we all know that, but they're outliers for a reason. We can't normalize this crazy behavior.
I have this one coworker who simply refuses to use the correct pronouns for me. I've called her out every time she misgenders me, and she just is resigned to not change.
All right, question for you guys. At first look of this individual, what would you say Shim's preferred pronouns are? So you gotta give the coworker a little bit of a pass. If I see this individual just talking, I'm gonna think she, tomboy probably. Now if they're going for he, it's a little tricky because you still look feminine.
Great!
And today just brought something in me. I just snapped.
Great!
I ended up yelling at her
Great!
the third time
Get
she
up!
misgendered
Get
me
up!
within like
Get
30
up!
minutes.
Get up!
Like,
Get up! Get up! Get up! Get up! Get up!
It's today. Being a simpleton here, I'm
Thank
thinking
you,
she,
Belly.
he, I guess they, but most people are raised that they meant
They're all
two people.
crated up that
Expect your coworker to be able to keep up with your